Very good morning, America. Good evening, India. This is Sean Shankaran, founder Bharat Ki Awas, General Secretary, Indian Overseas Congress. Today, we have a very interesting topic, maybe in the known guest, but interesting topic. The topic is emergency and neo-emergency. We have got Mr. M.G. Devasahayam, who have spent a lot of time with J.P. Narayanan during emergency days, who is able to give a corollary. What is real emergency? So the new emergency happening now, India over the past 10 years, he is calling it as new emergency. Much more impactful and kind of a very silent emergency, which is more worse than even the emergency which happened previously. So I want to invite MG Devasayam. Before that, I want to invite Sam to give a quick maybe introduction about even his take on neo-emergency or what even the emergency. Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you, Sean. Greetings, everyone from Chicago. I want to welcome my friend, Mr. Devasahayam, to this conversation. He brings in wealth of knowledge, experience, information, and understanding of the Indian administration as well as social political situation. I got to know him a few years ago as part of the conversation we had on EVM, election integrity, and other issues where he has been very active. And over a period of time, we got to discuss many topics. And I've been very impressed with his depth of understanding. Like him, I also lived through briefly Indira Gandhi emergency, though I was in the US. And we had a lot of people coming back and forth, Rajini Kothari, even George Fernandez came, his wife stayed with us for a while. And we were deeply concerned during that period about emergency and the path India would take. Fortunately, wisdom set in, and that period lasted for about 2 years. The emergency, as we understand today, and that we will get more sort of views in details from Mr. Devasahayam, has been going on in a different way for quite some time. The fundamental difference between Indira Gandhi emergency and the situation today, to me, relates more to surveillance state. A state that constantly monitors your digital pathway, your digital platforms, and then systematically attacks people in a very organized way through troll, misinformation, hate, fear. And that, to me, is a fundamental difference in one way how things begin to shape today. Lot of surveillance is going on all over the world. Different states use surveillance differently. Whenever in a democracy institutions get captured, civil society get undermined, and media is managed effectively by the power in place, it becomes very difficult for citizen to exercise freedom, autonomy, flexibility. And I think we will learn more about this from Mr. Devasahayam. He has written a book on it, a It has been published recently. He's been getting a lot of good reviews. He has been talking about the book to lots of people, and we are lucky to have him today talk to us about his book, his views, and his experiences. Mr. Devasahayam, welcome to the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Shall I go ahead?
Please.
Yes, sir. Yes, Devasahayam. Thank you. It's good.
The book has been introduced, the name has been mentioned, and by the name itself, the book becomes very, very clear. You don't have to explain anything about it. Emergency and neo-emergency. See, India became a democracy. Very unusual for a country which had such massive problems when we became independent. We had one of the worst kind of economic situations, social kind of situation, and the kind of political turmoil that we had. Founding fathers could have easily brought in a dictatorial system, an autocratic system. But our founding fathers had deep faith in democracy. Though, of course, Dr. Ambedkar did not have much of a faith in democracy. I mentioned in the book itself. But then we established ourselves as a democracy. That was in 1947, then 1950. Then democracy needs extremely strong institutions. If you see India's constitution, almost the entire concentration was on setting up of institutions. We call it institutions of democratic governance. Because only institution can sustain democracy. Individuals cannot. Individuals come and go. Even if they don't want to go, they are made to go. That's a law of nature. Not because somebody is being elected or not being elected. Even if he is elected, he has to leave the world at some point of time. So human beings cannot sustain a system of democracy which is based on the will of the people. So if you find large concentration of India's democracy on institution building, institutions, starting from the President of India to Parliament, to the Council of Ministers, Judiciary, Executive, the whole works. And there was a major flaw in the original constitution, for which we are even now paying for it. Actually, democracy, normally when you are talking about democracy, it comes from below. Grassroots grows from below. It's like a tree. Tree doesn't grow from the branches. Tree grows from the roots. So we used to have the village panchayat, village system, urban sort of governance, that means the urban local bodies. Then we have the state assemblies. Then we have the central parliament and related institutions. But unfortunately, the major flaw was that the grassroots institutions was not totally thrown out of the constitution. They were not given any role or any authority, any power. So India, to start with, a rootless democracy. That's the word I used. We had a rootless democracy. 75-80% of the power was vested in the central government. You have the president, you have the parliament, you have the Supreme Court, you have got the council of ministers, and almost everything under the sun. The power came to the central government. Military, defense, railways, the whole lot. About 15 to 20% role was allocated to the states. They also played their role. So it was a centralized democracy. And the institutions were built accordingly. So it became amenable to manipulation by certain people sitting at the pinnacle of power. Now, exactly what happened, because we had the initial set of top leaders with sense of democracy. Democracy survived, institutions were building up, but always with the danger that it could be hijacked and shaken up in no time. That is precisely what happened on 25th and 26th of June, 1975, when the emergency was declared overnight by a very two-line presidential proclamation under Article 356, saying that a grave emergency exists, and because of emergency, a national emergency has been declared, and that is how the emergency came into being. A declaration by the President of India, signed by Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad. And there's a lot of background. I was then part and parcel of the government. I was the important part of the implementation part of the government, because the large role of implementing the emergency regime fell on the district magistrates, who are district collectors, a deputy commissioner, whatever you call it. They were the people. All the authority, the power, I'm telling you, absolutely sort of draconian powers were given the district magistrates. He or she could order the arrest of anybody, anytime. Pack off. Nobody would even know where the person went. So anyone who wants to exercise power, misuse power, had a tremendous potential. I myself was afraid. I was scared myself of the powers that I had. I was district magistrate before emergency, during emergency, and after emergency. So I have a fairly good view. So also since I had better knowledge about the emergency, because there were district magistrates all over the place. Around that time, we had about 400 to 500 districts in the country. Mine was slightly more special because emergency at the end of the day had several issues. It had political issues, social issues, economic issues. There's no time to go into that. But basically, it was a feud, a rivalry between two personalities. Indira Gandhi as the Prime Minister of the country, and Jayaprakash Narayan as the opposition leader. The conscience of the nation. Originally, Jayaprakash Narayan was part and parcel of the Congress party. He was one among the initial stalwarts of the Congress party. He was the one who brought in ideology to the Congress party, Congress Socialist Party. And he was very close to Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru wanted him to be the Prime Minister and tried his level best to bring him into the cabinet. That's all a long story. Basically, a congressman extremely committed to the ideology of socialism, equity. And then he fell out of the Congress party, but basically he remained Congress party. But over a period of time, initially power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Congress party also, the power went into their head because they were a single party and they won all kind of elections, parliament elections, state elections, the whole lot. So gradually it became autocratic. Though the democratic system was there, in actual operation it was becoming autocratic. And congenital Democrats like JP didn't like it. He fell out. And even well before the emergency was declared, he had been working on an alternative, because he knows India may be a democracy, but there can't be democracy when there is one party rule. Democracy must have alternative. People should have alternative to choose from. And there was no alternative at that point of time. Communist Party was divided, and it was very small, and some regional parties were coming up. There was no coherent national party, and the rightist wing RSS also was, Janasangha also was virtually non-existent. They were making little noises here and there. So he always at the back of his mind, he wanted to create a alternative to the Congress party, so that we have a two-party rule, a multi-party system, where there could be a functioning democracy. But lot of factors came together, culminated in this declaration of emergency. And as you said, last straw on the camel's back. As everything was building up, as you all know, There is always a last straw on the camel's back. In this case, that was the judgment of the Allahabad High Court on 12th June 1975, declaring invalid the election of Mrs. Gandhi for a very petty, compared to what is happening in the electoral system now. What that was done was not even a minor prick. But those days, courts were quite strict. Election integrity was there, and she was declared, her election was declared invalid by the Allahabad High Court because one of her officials helped in campaigning by organizing public meetings when he was still a government servant. Anyway, that even at that time JP movement was going on. JP was leading a movement for socio-economic causes. And when this matter came, they said, all right, now Supreme Court also did not give reprieve to Mrs. Gandhi, and she, opposition led by JP, asked for her to resign from the prime ministership. And there was a lot of pressure within the Congress party, and finally emergency was declared. And there was total chaos that was prevailing. We did not know what was really emergency at that point of time. But anyway, the point I am trying to make is it survived for about 21 months. And yes, excesses did take place. And the excesses committed then was mostly by a coterie headed by Sanjay Gandhi. I have written in the book. I have nothing to hide. Indira Gandhi bring in the emergency. Naturally, she was the prime minister. She had to take it up with the president, but then her heart was not an emergency. I knew it because of her dealings with JP. JP was Jayaprakash Narayan was like a father figure for her. Like a father figure. They had such a relationship. And he was brought to Chandigarh basically for health reasons, because Chandigarh had a very high quality PGI, Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education Research, and very clean, neat city, and not very far away from Delhi. And but the instructions when he came on July 1st, 1975, the instructions were very, very clear. No jail. As soon as we got the information, we have a sub jail in Chandigarh, and I was also the Inspector General of Prisons because Chandigarh is a union territory. I had about 4, 5, 6 hats to wear. We prepared a beautiful, nice air-conditioned room and waiting for JP to come. But orders came very clearly that no jail for JP. He will not be sent to any jail. He will be only accommodated in the... So we converted a guest house in PGA and made it into a jail. And about 6 months he stayed there. He was either in the guest house or in the ward, depending upon his health condition. There was some deterioration. Second thing why I am saying Indira Gandhi's heart was not in the emergency. From the day one, he has been seeking reconciliation with JP. She has been trying her level best because leaders were arrested. A lot of people, more than 1 lakh people were arrested. Excesses were being committed, and international opinion was turning against India. And she was desperately trying to have reconciliation. I also participated in the process. Initially, we tried to bring in Sheikh Abdullah. We tried to bring in a couple of others. Then she tried to bring in some illustrious foreign leaders. But then it was sabotaged. At every level, it was sabotaged. And Mr. P.N. Dar, who was his principal secretary, was very close to JP also. So what I am trying to say is that emergency was brought in because of several factors. And it did bring about a draconian regime. It did suppress freedom of opinion, freedom of everything. There was censorship, and there was excess committed. Mostly, as you know, the family planning. this Nazarbandi and certain other demolitions also took place, demolitions in Delhi and other. Yes, it did take place. And some laws were amended to facilitate certain individuals. Election of the prime minister was kept outside the jurisdiction of the court. And some favoritism also took place in appointing judges. A lot of bad things did happen. But it did not last more than 21, 22 months. There was one postponement of the election. 1976, there should have been an election, but it was under pressure by Sanjay Gandhi and his coterie. It was postponed to 77. And when the election took place, it was absolutely free and fair. I was returning officer of the Chandigarh constituency, and there was no pressure whatsoever. She continued to be the prime minister. The Bansilal was defense minister, and all these people were there. But no pressure on people like me, the returning officers, nothing. Everything was done in a very fair manner, and people's mandate prevailed. People's mandate prevailed, and you know what happened to Congress party. 2/3 majority, they were defeated. So that is the people's power. I mean, the democracy was still active, still vibrant. People could exercise their franchise free and fair and remove a government which is being accused of most draconian emergency. Yes, media control was there, but only censorship. Media was still alive. As soon as the election was announced, the entire media rose up and ripped Mrs. Gandhi into pieces and gave a very good opportunity for the people to exercise an alternative. Yes, that was there. Institutions, yes, some institutions did collapse. But institutional destruction didn't take place. Institutions survived. So when you keep on analyzing the entire overall, yes, it was a dark period. It lasted for about 21 months. It should not have happened. But it was a passing phase. Now, let's come to the neo-emergency. I have lived through that. I have been one of the strongest critics of that time. Even sitting as district magistrate, I used to criticize. I had provided full support to Jayaprakash Narayan. I used to disobey the orders of the government of India in dealing with the prisoner, particularly JP. I used to grant interviews liberally. And message did go to the Prime Minister. The complaint went to this fellow is doing undue favor to JP. She said, so what? He is doing his job. In fact, people went and complained to Mr. Bansilal, who was Chief Minister of Haryana, because I am from Haryana cadre. He had become Defense Minister. Went and complained to him. He said, so what? Let him do his job. So there was no interference at all whatsoever. The institution was not destroyed. There was a temporary aberration. Excesses did take place, but that also was constitutionally mandated. There was a written emergency declaration. Now, what is happening now? For the last 10 years, it is much worse than what it was in those two years' time. We are experiencing it ourselves. Every institution is being destroyed. There's no institution left. Most important is the election commission. So if we keep on counting one by one, so the point I would like to conclude, I would like to take questions from people because we would like to answer questions from young people. But the one point I would like to make before why I wrote this book. 26th of June 2024, the emergency entered its 50th year. Okay, 50th year. Now we are in the golden jubilee year, June 26th, 50 year. So when these people presently who are in power, they made such a noise, you will not believe it. If you read the prologue of my book, it was nauseating. They made such a noise in parliament, outside parliament, inside parliament, starting from the president of India, the prime minister, the speaker, the home minister, the defense minister, the BJP chief, as if they have destroyed democracy, and these fellows protected democracy. They defended democracy. I know the whole story. There's no time for me to. They were also part and parcel of destroying the democracy even at that time. And they made so much of noise. And then eventually they declared 26th June as Hatya Diwas, Samvidhaan Hatya Diwas. That provoked me to write the book. These fellows are overdoing it. हत्या तो यही कर रहे हैं, अभी हत्या तो अभी हो रहा है. So I must write and tell the people as to what is happening. So I have written it. Now it is only in English. I hope we will be able to. But the problem is, quite a few publishers were not interested in writing this book, publishing this book. This publisher was bold enough, Chandigarh publisher. He was bold enough to publish exactly as I wrote, without changing one word. So why I wrote was that if at all they had any claim of this, saying that we were the defenders of democracy, they should have demonstrated now in the last 10 years. The last 10 years, they have destroyed all institutions, they have destroyed the electoral integrity, they have destroyed everything under the sun, and democracy is being massacred in a halal manner. We know about it, I don't know to say. And media is such a horrendous shape. Everything is in horrendous shape. Civil services is almost finished. So then, how can they make such a claim? So this is a book, an attempt to bring both this era of 50 years. This is a mini history of 50 years. I hope people will be benefited by reading this. But I feel, but particularly the Congress party can have a big learning out of this. If they read it, they will know as to why their time was being criticized and what is happening now, and they will be able to sort of redeem themselves and emerge as a force of democracy instead of just backbiting and keeping on giving press statement. I don't see any movement taking place. The book has been there for nearly 1 month. No one seemed to have shown any interest. But I did not write it for any commercial purposes. I thought it was my duty to place it before the people, particularly the youth of this nation, for whom there is no survival without democracy. So, any questions? I will be more than willing to answer.
Sure.
This, in summary, was my account of why I wrote this book and what is basically in the book.
Thank you. Thank you, Devasahayam. Sam, I want to, in fact, start with a very interesting couple of citizen personalities we have got. We have got Ila Gandhi, the granddaughter of Mahatma Gandhi today, the call.
Oh, fantastic. Ilaben. Hello, Ilaben.
Ila, you want to say hi?
Hello, Ilaben. Kemcho, how are you?
Yeah, I saw the name.
Thanks. Namaste.
So good to see you. Very good to see you.
So,
How related are you to Gopal Gandhi, my close friend and batchmate?
Ilaben is in South Africa.
But
Yes.
Gopal Gandhi's niece, is it? I mean,
Right.
what
He's
way?
my cousin.
Cousin. Okay. He's my
Yes, yes.
batchmate and a very close friend of mine. Yeah.
Yes. Ilaben has been a great institution in South Africa. When I went there, she was member of the parliament and she had organized a big luncheon meeting for me. Then we kept meeting on and off at the Pravas Bharati Diwas. She's still very active. She is sort of the guardian of the Gandhiji's movement in South Africa. She lives in Durban, and it is a proud privilege to have known her, and I'm delighted that she's with us. Thank you, Ila Ben. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Ila, do you have any questions? Having seen Indian independence movement, emergency, as well as what's happening
We
over the
need,
past?
Sean, we need a special session with Ila Ben.
Okay. Sure.
Okay?
No,
Sure.
the thing is, I haven't had personal experience of any of the things, but what I've read and what I've listened, I've learned from Sampai and other people during the discussions. So that's my knowledge, very limited knowledge in terms of the dynamics that are happening in India. But we see that there's a great similarity, not just in India, around the world, and in South Africa.
Very true.
And we see that we are going along the same route, and we are very worried about it. So at this stage, we are also organizing and mobilizing people so that civil society can be more powerful. We think that that's where our work should be focused on, in empowering civil society. There's so much of misinformation. You could, if you muzzle the press and you muzzle journalists, then misinformation gets, distributed to the people. So we've always, during the time of the struggle and now, we've learned that we have to give information to the community. And there are many ways in which we can go directly to the community. And that's what we are doing, going directly to the community, speaking to them, trying to educate, conscientize, mobilize. That's the key. Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you
But
have
let
any?
us have a special session with Ila Ben
Sure.
on South Africa
Sure.
and similarities. Okay, I think it'll be very useful for all of us.
Sure. Done.
Thank you, Ila Ben. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Ila, do you have any two-line request or advice for Indian National Congress, which is supposed to be one of the?
That could be a separate issue.
Okay.
Sean,
Sure.
that's a separate issue. Let's not confuse it right now.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Go
Ila.
ahead. Thank you, Ila Ben.
Thank you.
I'll go with Mahmood Prachar next. Mahmood Prachar, do you want to ask any particular question about neo-emergency? You are one of the forefront warrior in this ban EVM, bring back ballot, one of the very important electoral integrity issue. So, do you want to ask any specific thing with MG Devasahayam and Sam? Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening from India, and good morning to everyone who's wherever there is morning. I have two observations come questions from Devasahayam Saab. First, I want him to elaborate on the fact that this new emergency is actually a theft. Earlier emergency was everything in black and white. This is more dangerous because it is not declared and it is committing a theft and a fraud on the system. They are breaking the law, actually de facto breaking every law, every provision of law, everywhere. Yet the charade of they being doing things within the four corners of law is maintained. So this is far more dangerous than than actual emergency, which was in black and white. Everything was, as Devasahayam Saab also said, constitutionally announced and declared, and there was a actually a regime that these rights have been taken away. These rights still remain or don't remain. So everything was apparent and in black and white. Second aspect, which I would request him to elaborate a little more, would be that RSS, which was actually banned by Sardar Patel Sahab, got some sense of legitimacy and they could come out in public domain during this period also. Actually, they got a golden opportunity to get some kind of legitimacy, which was not with them. They were actually totally boycotted, even if not openly, but they were a totally boycotted organization. So I would request him to elaborate on these two aspects, and also what was the role of the sleeper cells of that time, how they actually accentuated the situation and the rift between Indraji and Jayaprakash Narayan Saab, which could have been narrowed down. This would be my request to Devasahayam Saab. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
thank you. On these two, I would like to elaborate a bit. On the first question that we talked about is that what is that first one? Uh, what was the first
And
one you
unofficial,
mentioned?
everything was in black and white earlier.
Yes,
Now,
see, 1971 election, Indira Gandhi and the Congress Party won a overwhelming majority. And there was a completely legal, mandated by the people government in power in 1974-75 when the emergency was declared. And emergency declared, of course, there was a formal order by the President of India. Now, the way elections are being conducted, we have made detailed study of 2019 election and 2024 election, placed before the people. The elections are not free and fair at all. The mandate is a stolen mandate. Even with the stolen mandate, well, if you may be able to manage to form a government, you may carry out routine activities, but certainly not what they are doing now. This is nothing short of Nazism and Fascism combined together. So, Mr. Prachar's observations are absolutely right. That was all done under a legal process. Then amendment of the law took place, Act were amended, Constitution was amended. So that part, of course, is done now. The 2019 itself, we had our own doubt that elections were manipulated. 2024, we have been able to provide convincing evidence. So that major factor is always there, and they are surviving only because of the fear factor. Coming to the RSS, you are absolutely right. RSS was nowhere. People had rejected RSS because of the betrayal. They are a bunch of people who betray. They always betray. But JP was trying desperately to create an alternative, as I said, for the democracy to survive, and he had limited options. In fact, even before he entered the fray, the JP movement, though it is called JP movement, the movement was not initiated by JP. It was initiated by the students, starting from Gujarat. Actually, the student movement started from Gujarat, came to Bihar, went to some areas of UP and started spreading mostly northern part of India. And when they went out of control, students got panicky and they went to JP. JP was in Hazaribagh. He was a recluse. He was living in one of his ashrams that he had built, and then he took over. By the time RSS people had already infiltrated into that bodies, student bodies, the Chhatra Sankar Samiti. There are other people also, and then at the second point is RSS was very. They knew that since they betrayed the independence movement, people will never sort of adopt them or accept them. They wanted to be part of the second freedom movement. See, JP was, many people do not know about this. Mahatma, there's one chapter I have written. One of the chapters in the book is on Mahatma Gandhi's and JP's relationship. Many people do not know. Actually, it was JP who was the moral heir of Mahatma Gandhi. Jawaharlal Nehru might have been the administrative, I mean, for government's sake, but actual heir, he had adopted JP as his actual heir. And there are tremendous amount of affinity between each other. And JP wanted to pursue the agenda of Mahatma Gandhi to spread the democracy message around. So because of that, they looked at JP, second Mahatma. Actually, he was called second Mahatma. They want to tag it onto him. But JP actually did not want, at the heat of the JP movement started, though he had a very bad experience with the Communist Party, he requested Jyoti Basu. Jyoti Basu was very close to him, being the vice president of the Railwaymen's Federation, of which JP was the president earlier. And he said, "Aap tum log aa jao, to ye apne aap bhag jayenge." This is exactly the word is there in the book. It is there in the book. JP told me. He told Jyoti Basu, in spite of all the limitations, agar tum log aa jaoge, ye log apne aap bhag jayenge. But they did not come. See, communist people were, those days, they were also disloyal to India. One group was following Russia, Stalin and company. One group was following China. And they were not loyal to the country. And we had to pay a heavy price. Because of that, the RSS came in and gave all kind of promises to JP that they will disband the RSS. They will terminate the two membership. One of the chapters deal with that. In fact, the book has got three parts. One is the emergency, second is post-emergency, and third is neo-emergency. The post-emergency part deals with the subject in great detail. How RSS came into the picture, how RSS betrayed, and some of the words by JP himself. So that your point is right, but then that's what has happened. That's the tragedy of India. We have to pay for it now. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have one question. So who is the Jayaprakash Narayanan now? Who will help us get out of this new emergency? Devasahayam.
There is no Jayaprakash Narayan now. See, you have very unique personalities. You must understand one thing: Mahatma Gandhi and Jayaprakash Narayan. Mahatma Gandhi, at the stroke of independence, freedom, he should have occupied any position he wanted. Okay, he would have become the dictator. He would have become the Führer, whatever he wanted. He said no. He said no. I don't want to enjoy anything. I want to be with the people, tell the people what democracy is. Exactly, JP. Exactly. He was offered cabinet ministership, deputy prime ministership, prime ministership, president of India. He declined. I asked him, "Sir, all this is true. I can't even believe it." Reluctantly, he said yes. Then I asked him why. He said, "Listen, democracy is not an ordinary thing. People did not even know what democracy is. It's people's power. Somebody has to go and tell them. If I occupy a position of power, I can't go and tell them. There are people who can occupy power." So these both of them are completely given up any desire for power. They wanted only the welfare of the people. Though, of course, they are flaws in their own character. Human being has flaws. But this kind of personalities you can't get. Now you can't, I mean, I don't think there is anybody who can even remotely similar to Jayaprakash Narayan. There could be collective leadership. But even that collective leadership also, there is an effort to destroy, damage, and civil society is being ruthlessly what do you call that, destroyed by this present regime. This kind of collective leadership should not come. So I don't think there's any Jayaprakash Narayan now, and India had to live with this. Thank you.
So how do you compare Indira Gandhi and Narendra Modi? So despite you mentioned emergency was an aberration, she went by the constitution, and she kind of came back also with again people's mandate. So, but this current new emergency, we all are fighting that they have captured all the institutions. They kind of have come without a real people mandate in a backdoor way. Is what all of us are alleging, using EVM and multiple other electoral integrity issues gaps. So how do you compare both these leaders?
See, that's why I said emergency was not in the blood of Indira Gandhi. Emergency was imposed due to certain factors, which, of course, we need a separate session for that. But here, these people have been promoting a lie, complete lie. And they brought in a hate politics. There was no hate politics at that point of time. Communal bigotry, Hindutva, all kind of negative things they brought, turning man against man. And in between, during the second tenure of Dr. Manmohan Singh, management was done in a very, very bad manner. I don't want to speak openly. I happen to know Manmohan Singh rather well, but I have big grievance the way he handled things. And particularly in the second tenure, they completely messed up and gave into a lot of bad things. Some done by his own bureaucracy, the coterie that had formed around him. So because of that, these people took advantage. Then we had that India against corruption, how they organized it. Systematically they organized. Mind you, starting from 2009, the day they lost the election 2009, they started working for it. I know it. Those days I used to go to Delhi very often. And these people used to come and meet me. A different level of people used to come and meet me. But anyway, eventually I did not give in.
On EVM in 2010 with a lot of your inputs.
EVM people also came, and other people also came. And they were putting together a fantastic strategy. Congress people have no reply to that. They fell for it. So 2014 election, they did win on merits. But after that, they completely captured the whole system. So Indira Gandhi was not kind of that kind of fraud. She did not do. She went through the normal process, but because of certain compulsion, emergency was declared, and she paid for it. But came back to power again. Again, of course, I know what happened in Amritsar. It was a wrong move again, wrong advice, and you know what tragedy, what happened. So I don't think you can compare Indira Gandhi with Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi is a bundle of lies, nothing but lies. That's the difference.
I'll hand it over to Premata. Go ahead, Premata. You have any questions?
So good evening, everyone. Devasahayam sir, I have a question. You said that when someone complained about you, saying that you were helping JP, Indira Gandhi said that that's fine, he's doing his job. So this kind of a scenario you can't imagine in today's government what we have, because if the civil servants, they won't even dare to do such things like helping the opposition leaders. So what do you think is the difference? And also, I would like you to highlight the fear factor with the common people, like the citizens of the country. Do you think the fear factor today with the normal people is more than that was during 77, like when Indira ji had the emergency going on? People were not that much, feared or scared than they are today, like these two aspects of I just want to...
There's a difference. When the emergency was declared, in the initial few days, I would say a few weeks and maybe a couple of months also, there was a sense of fear. People did not know. Even ourselves, administrators did not know what was this emergency. When things started settling down, the fear psychosis was removed, except some people who were actually politically active, capable of creating mischief. They were afraid. They were to be arrested. Now, the fear factor is universal. Sam, in his opening remarks, said about the surveillance society. It has become a complete surveillance society, and we really do not know from where the strike is going to come. So, and now what is permeated almost every sphere of society. The fear factor has permeated every sphere. Now, for instance, civil society. There's almost no activity as far as civil society is concerned. The opinions are, nobody is even talking about the civil society. In fact, I'll tell you something interesting. See, there is this is something will be relevant to you, to young people. The New Indian Express holds a conclave called, what do you call that, Thing Edu. And 2020, I was invited, and it was a very explosive kind of this thing, and went off very well. Again, I was invited, end of January. It was supposed to be on 27th of this month, on the subject of civil service. Civil service. Are they caged? Are they functioning? Whatever, one minute. So I said, I'll participate. And everything was tied up. Yesterday, I got the message that they could not get enough speakers to talk about the civil services. That's what is happening. Now, you know the standard of debate that is going on in the TV. You know, the fear factor, the quality factor is all deteriorated, and it is all pervading. Sorry.
I want to ask one more question which I forgot. That is, this present regime misusing the powers or misusing their positions in a very surreptitious manner, not in black and white. Their sole aim to be in the government seems to be pushing their ideology, one, diluting the constitution, and also large scale corruption, which is never seen before, which is hitherto not known. So, what was the level of corruption, if at all there was some, during the emergency? That would be a very important aspect also, because were there Adani, Ambanis, and Yusuf Lulus that time who were looting the country in the garb of misuse of power at the highest level, or was that not at all a factor?
This is a very good question. Today, the whole purpose of this government appears to be to build up an oligarchy. Oligarchy is built only on corruption, concentration of wealth. This was not there during emergency. There were corruption. Now, that's why I said they have completely finished up all the institutions. They created something called Lokpal. God alone knows where is Lokpal. Comptroller and Auditor General of India, the last 10 years, he has done nothing. Comptroller and Auditor General is supposed to tell us what is happening. Earlier, at least reports used to come. CAG at least used to come out with reports and tell the people this fraud is going on. Now, massive corruption is going on, and you don't have a whimper. Media doesn't write a word. No, you compare two corruptions, don't go anywhere. One is that Rajiv Gandhi's time, that Bofors. One is Rafael. I know some facts about both. What happened Bofors? A prime minister has to resign, and the whole commotion took place. Rafael, far worse. And nothing happened. Supreme Court hushed it up. Under some cover or something like that. Similarly, PM Care Fund. Maybe the worst corruption under the sun ever be. And still, nobody is even talking about it.
Electoral bonds.
Electoral bonds. Everything. Much worse corruption is taking place because they have killed the institutions. Lokpal has been killed. Central Vigilance Commission has been killed, and CAG has been killed. Then media has been killed. That's the point I'm trying to make. Situation is far, far worse now. That's the difference.
Okay, I have bunch of comments, questions from online. Okay, I think this is a comment or observation from Amol Kulkarni. Why didn't government ban and dismantle the fanatic, hopeless organization then and then only? Now, no, we don't need to pay for old age mistakes, and we are not paying till the time we don't part with our values and then pay attention to their values. Period, are dead, null and void, and what remains is our security, which can be done collectively and helpful the community. So I think he's talking about the kind of institutional corruption. The midnight attack on Saif Ali, the actor, and the great grandson of Rabindranath Tagore shows their plans and how. So you cannot compare a fascist match with a few months emergency. So I think he's able to empathize. So it's a commentary under Ravi.
I just want one point I want to make, because people will start asking.
Sure.
There is a film called Emergency by Kangana Ranaut.
Yeah.
It was released yesterday, and I have been listening to the reviews. As it turns out to be, she calls it emergency, but I am told it's a biopic on Indira Gandhi. Emergency is a totally different subject. And she calls it emergency. Emergency is not Indira Gandhi. And you just make a biopic, some kind of drama, and then misguide the people. Actually, this is emergency. I just wanted to point out, because I am yet to see the movie, but this seems to be this another fraud that's going to be played on the people of India.
Yeah. Sir, just to add, actually, Indira ji also apologized for emergency. That nobody talks about it much more than she imposed emergency, but then she apologized as well.
Priyavada, she did it in writing to Jayaprakash Narayan, and I have read that myself.
So when the BJP accuses, it's far more worse. Today's situation is far more worse than what was there in 77. So we need to highlight that more, that Indira ji apologized actually. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, sure.
True. Yeah.
So I think that's a comment from Nagendra Madhavaram. I greatly respect Devasahayam's steadfast dedication to Indian democracy and his advocacy for electoral reforms. There is a pressing need for more champions like him to educate and inspire the masses. I eagerly look forward for the release of this book, Emergency, New Emergency, in the US. So is the book coming in US, Devasahayam? I have found...
I have no idea. You people must, if you make a demand, I think it will come.
Okay, sure.
All you have to do is get a digital publication, and then Amazon and others would print it.
Okay, let me talk.
You know how to do this well, Sean. Why don't you talk to Rakesh for some help and guidance? Okay,
sure.
And we should get it published, as long as he has the right to publish in America.
Sure.
If Mr. Devasahayam can get right to publish in US,
I think I must be having the right.
Let's verify that, and then we can publish it. It's no big deal.
Let me check up the agreement. Then
Rakesh knows how to do it well.
Sure.
He will have to give permission. I think the legal aspect is that it is publishable anywhere, but he will have to give permission if he wants to give the rights of publishing it in
It's
US
a very
also.
standard thing. Yeah.
Let me check my agreement with the publisher. Let me check.
I've done several of my books like that, where Indian publisher only has rights in South Asia.
Yeah.
And outside South Asia, rights are with the author.
Yes.
Here also, I think it's the same. Let me check up.
Just check it.
This may be a topic of big interest here in the US.
So you will have to find a publisher there.
No, we'll self-publish.
Yeah.
No, publisher is actually the partner is there in USA. That other big company, book distribution company. What's his name? I'll tell you. Simon and
Oh, they are big, Simon and Schuster.
Yeah, they are the distributors.
Oh, they are very big. They are the biggest.
It's an American company.
They are the biggest. But they cannot publish.
They say Simon and say India, but can they publish it in America?
Sometimes they don't. Like Penguin India will not give Penguin US right to publish because Yes,
let me see my agreement. I'll talk to the publisher.
you can check it.
Yes.
Sounds good. And there is another comment from Ravi Vishwesharaya Shraddha Prasad. So I would like to add and clarify about Shri M.G. Devasahayam having Sheikh Abdullah and Gyani Jail Singh as mediators between JP and Indira Gandhi. Do you want to talk about it by any chance? I think, and he's also mentioning on EVM VVPAT. I wrote a Hindustan Time article on 2004 itself. I gave expert testimony in Nagpur High Court on EVM VVPAT in October 2004.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Good. So any other question?
Yeah, there are people who are talking about EVM, etc. Since that's our usual forte. So
there's hardly any time.
Yeah. So Ilango is talking about what we can do something about stolen mandate.
That's what Mr. Pracha is
we are doing for so long.
doing.
Yeah.
That is what we are doing. Now let me tell you. Now with a lot of difficulty, Congress Working Committee discussed this in last month in Karnataka. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the next day meeting did not take place because Dr. Manmohan Singh passed away. But Mr. Digvijay Singh from the Congress Working Committee sent me a message because we have been in touch, saying that happy to inform you that Congress Working Committee has discussed this matter and taken a decision to have a mass movement, people's movement, to return back to paper ballot starting from 26th January 2025. So I asked for reconfirmation. He reconfirmed it just about last week. Yes, because I told him that we are not seeing any visible preparations being made. He said no, preparations are going on, and we are going to launch it. Now today is 19th, hardly about weeks left. I don't know what is happening, but he also put a rider in the email. Even now, there are several EVM worshippers in the Congress party. Now, I was discussing with Prachaji this morning. We have been campaigning against this EVM paper ballot, and I am quite a notorious character in the BJP circles also. Not one BJP person has repudiated me so far, because 10 years ago they had approached me anti-EVM, and I have not received one counter this thing, but any criticism of my opinion, because they know they can't. But Congress people are jumping to the rescue of EVM. I am really surprised. It's a Congress people who are jumping to and starting from Jairam Ramesh and this fellow, what's his name, that Yadav, Yogendra Yadav, and this fellow and that fellow, and somebody from Tamil Nadu. Oh, EVM, I won the election by EVM. Who says you didn't win the election by EVM? Karthik Chidambaram says, I won the election by EVM. Damn it, Tamil Nadu, you will win. Because the margin is so much. The question is, they have not understood anything about the electoral system at all. And even now, Jairam Ramesh has rushed to the Supreme Court on this amendment of the rule. There was no need for him to go. We were working on a strategy. Mr. Pracha, with deliberate, with a pre-planned strategy only, he entered the fray in Rampur. And systematically we were planning to rip open the election commission fraud of telling lies before the Supreme Court, that my administrative safeguard, legal safeguard, technical safeguard, and we were ripping them apart. And in a desperate move, they amended the law. We wanted to make them a little more naked. And this fellow, who asked him to go to the court? Who asked him to go to the court?
RSS, let me inform you that.
No, I'm just saying. He goes to the court. Political party's job is not going to the court. Going to the court at all is better than legal fraternity and all civil society. And we were working to a schedule. systematic schedule. And he goes. But whereas they will not say a word about the spike, 12% spike, 8% spike. Have they asked any question? Even the day before yesterday also, I heard Rahul Gandhi speaking in some meeting. He is now talking about only the electoral rolls. Okay, we know about the electoral rolls also. We know exactly what happened. Now, all this stealing of the mandate is possible only because of the spike. 8% spike, 7% spike, 12% spike. From where it came? Congress has still not asked that question to the Election Commission. The most important question. Most important. Even with the 1% spike, you can win election. 1% spike. And wherever there is no spike, they have not won the election. See, even now, the problem is with the Congress party, not the BJP. BJP people have accepted. This is a tragedy, unfortunately. I don't know.
So hopefully we'll have some resolution, and let us hope for the best with all your fights, Mahmood Pracha and MG Devasahayam. And Uttam Meena is saying, where institutions of democracy compromised in 75, 77 at such a scale like what we are seeing, Notbandi, use of press, CBI, IT, ED, and even judiciary appeasing of plum positions post the news of judges, and now EC is desperate to join the band by pleasing their masters. How to save the integrity and neutrality of these institutions? Very important.
Keep fighting.
People. See, please read the last chapter. Who will defend democracy? And
Right.
also the epilogue. Let me tell you, I'll read out this and then we'll conclude. I'll read out the last page of my book. I'll just read out.
Thank you.
After that, of course, we can close it.
Sure.
This is what I have written. So, we the people who have given ourselves this precious gift called democracy have to fend for ourselves. Every generation of Indians faces a moment when it is called to defend its democracy. Every generation. My generation is gone. Sam, our generation is past.
Yep.
Your generation is to defend India's democracy. In the prevailing darkness of neo-emergency, men and women move about like figures in silhouette. This is a twilight when they should regroup themselves for the task at hand. Soon the sun shall arrive and identify them, and among them shall be seen new leaders with new messages and entrenched genuine patriotism, a new resolve to make this land of ours a free, fearless, hate-free, and true democracy to live in. The time is now. And I concluded with a small poetry. Much to cast down, much to build, much to restore. Let the work not delay, time and arms not waste. Let the clay be dug from the pit. Let the saw cut the stone. Let the fire not be quenched in the forge. For it is time to demolish the venal who are entrenched so very deep and rebuild the real India. This is the last message of the book. It is the people, particularly the youth. Unless they take it up, nothing is going to happen. Political parties have betrayed.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, MG Devasahayam, for taking time out, and thanks, Mahmood Pracha and Ila Gandhi for joining us and for on a great topic and discussion. Good luck on your book, MG Devasahayam ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ilaben. Thank you, Pracha Sahab.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Devasahayam.
Thank
And
you.
naturally, thanks Sean and Priyamvada.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Excellent.